Hello, my dear students. This is Dr. Vivek Rohira, Mathematics Mentor, and today we are going to start chapter number 1, class 10th, Real Numbers. So, in this chapter, Real Numbers, firstly, I will introduce you about the introduction of real numbers. In the previous class, class 7th, 8th, 9th, okay, you already studied about the number system, okay, but here we are just firstly recap the number system as the introduction part of the chapter number 1, real numbers. That is how by the number system we can approach to the real numbers. So without any delay, we should start. So here, numbers. So first we should know that from where the numbers going to start. Okay, so first, as we know, in our daily life, counting numbers we discuss. Okay, so what are the counting numbers? The counting numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to so on. These all are called as a counting numbers. Okay, and what is the other name of the counting numbers? So these counting numbers are called natural numbers. So in the number system, the first number we discuss natural numbers. So first you should know that is the counting numbers or natural numbers are denoted by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to so on. But now in the counting numbers, if we add 0, then what it will be? If we add 0 or we include 0 in the natural numbers, that is, we add 0, then it is called whole numbers. So in the number system, the first one is natural numbers, and if we add 0 in the natural numbers, then it will be whole numbers. Okay, now the others number if we add, that is the negative of natural number. If we include negative of natural number in the series 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to so on, then what it will be? So we can see that 0, 1, 2, 3 up to so on, and we add the negative of natural number, that is -1, -2, -3 up to so on. Okay, then this sequence of number is called integers. So all these three numbers are very important: natural number, whole number, natural number, whole number, and integers. They all three numbers are very important. So the natural numbers starting from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to so on. Whole numbers we include 0, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to so on is called whole number. And what is integer? Integer is from minus infinite to, that is -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 up to so on. This is called integers. So basically in the number system, firstly, we discuss about these three numbers. Now, next, as we know that integers are -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 up to so on. Okay, these are integers. Now, in the integers, if we discuss the new numbers like 5 by 9, -3 upon 1, and 4 upon 3 or 1 upon 5, what we will say about these numbers? So in this numbers, we can see that these are in the fractional form, and in the fractional form we have the numerator and denominator. So we can see that in the numerator these are called integer. So the numerator are filled up with the integer, and the denominator, if we can see that denominator, then denominator are non-zero integer. So here we are going to start the next sequence of the numbers just in the fractional form, and in this fractional form we can see that the numerators are integers and denominators are non-zero integers. Why non-zero? Because If in the denominator we put 0, then the fractional numbers will not define. Okay, so now we can easily define that the ratio integer upon non-zero integer. This ratio of integers is called rational numbers. Okay, so what are the rational numbers? The rational numbers, if p is any integer and q is any non-zero integer, then p by q. This is very important. The rational numbers are in the form of p by q, where q is not equal to 0 and p and q, they both are from integers. They both are from integers. This is called rational numbers. So after the study of the integers, we studied about the rational numbers. That is when we take the fractional form of integers, in which in the denominator we introduce non-zero integer, then we found that the new number form is called rational numbers. Okay, so now the next one, rational numbers. So what we studied about the rational number, if p is any integer and q is any non-zero integer, then p by q is a rational number. Okay, so here we are taking some example, that is 9 by 4, 2.25. Okay, 11 by 3, 3.666. Okay, up to so on. Or we can see that 2.25, this is called terminating. Okay, because it terminate at 5 after decimal 2 places, the number is terminate, so that's why this type of rational number is called terminating. But the next 11 over 3, that is 3.666, after decimal the number 6 is going to repeat up to infinity. So what about this type of number? This is called non-terminating and recurring, because after decimal 6 is going to repeat up to infinite, because the number 6 is repeating after the decimal number, so that's why we can say recurring. So this type of rational numbers are called non-terminating and recurring rational numbers. Okay, so here we define rational numbers into two formats: the terminating rational numbers and non-terminating and recurring rational numbers. Okay, also we can write down now decimal form of rational numbers is terminating and non-terminating recurring. Okay, so here we discuss, that is the decimal form of rational numbers is in the two format. The one is terminating and the second one is non-terminating and recurring. Okay, also 3.666 up to so on. Okay, where the number 6 is going to repeat after the decimal, so it can be written in the form of 3.6 bar. Okay, this point 3.6 bar, so 6 bar indicate that 6 is going to repeat up to infinity, right? So this is, you should also know. So now the next one, 4.914, it also can be written as 914 bar, because we can see that 9 then 1 then 4, after decimal 914 again 914 is going to repeat. So this series of the numbers is going to repeat up to infinity. So that's why we can see that after decimal 3 numbers are going to repeat, 914. So that's why here we apply the bar on 914. Okay, and this bar indicate that 914 is going to repeat up to infinity, right? So the next one, now we have to identify the rational numbers, that is which rational numbers are terminating and which are non-terminating and recurring. As we can see that the first one, 0.048 bar. Okay, so this is non-terminating recurring, because after decimal one of the number is 8 in which bar is applied, So the meaning of bar is that is 8 is going to repeat up to infinity. So that's why this is non-terminating and recurring. The second one we can also define very easily, that is the 4.914 bar is also non-terminating recurring rational numbers. The third one 2.066, this is terminate. Okay, so we can see that this is terminating rational numbers. The next one we can see that non-terminating and non-recurring. You can very easily see that after decimals, okay, the randomly numbers are going to come 0, 1, 2, 2, 5, 4, 7, 8, 2, 5 up to so on. Okay, there is no particular sequence of the numbers which we can show that's going to repeat. Okay, so this is not repeating and non-terminating, so that's why we are saying that this is called non-terminating, non-recurring. Okay, so non-recurring meaning non-repeating. The same way we can also check 3.14159265338 up to so on. This is also non-terminating, non-recurring. So the numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring, this type of numbers are not rational numbers. These are not rational numbers. The third one also we can say non-terminating and non-recurring. So this is also not a rational numbers. And the third one also we can say non-terminating and non-recurring. So this is also not a rational numbers. And the last one, a bar is applied on 253. So simply we can say this is non-terminating and recurring. So this is rational numbers. Okay. So here we categorize or we identify which of these numbers are rational numbers and which are not rational numbers. So we can see that these are rational numbers, and for these numbers we can find that these are not rational numbers. Okay, these are not rational numbers, right? So here we identify, that is how we find, how we can evaluate or how we can find that the numbers are rational numbers or not a rational numbers. Now the next question is that the numbers which are not rational number, as here we can see that I just want to give the serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So here we can see that the numbers 4, 5, 6 and 7, these are not rational numbers. So now the question is, in which category we can define these type of numbers? So the next, let's see. Now, which type of numbers these are? So these decimal numbers are, we can see that non-terminating and non-recurring numbers. Okay, so now these type of numbers are called irrational numbers. So the numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring, so we can put these type of numbers in the category of irrational numbers. Okay, so what are the irrational numbers? Numbers whose decimal form is non-terminating and non-recurring are called the irrational numbers. So whenever a number given in the form of p by q, so by that form we just find its decimal form, and by the help of decimal form we can easily define which type of numbers p by q by the help of decimal form, which are rational numbers and which are not rational numbers, that is we can say which are irrational numbers. Okay, so very easily we can define it. Now let's find the square root of the numbers which are not perfect square. As you can see that root 2, that is when we will take the square root of 2, then you will find that it will be 1.414213562373 up to so on. Okay, this is non-terminating and non-recurring. Okay, similarly with the same with the square root of 3, similarly same with the square root of 5, and same with the square root of 6. Okay, so these decimal numbers are non-terminating and non-recurring. Okay, so now the square root of numbers that are not perfect square. So here we also find an interesting result, that is some of the numbers we have to given and we are find the square root of these numbers. If the square root of the numbers are not perfect square, not perfect square meaning that if you will find square root of 4 then it will be 2. Okay, if you will find square root of 36 then it will be 6. So there are many examples by which we can define which numbers square root are perfect square. Okay, so here we define also irrational numbers in the form of other definition, that is the numbers, the square root of the numbers which are not perfect square are called irrational numbers. Okay, so the two definition we are defined here. One of the numbers whose decimal form is non-terminating and non-recurring, and the second one, the square root of the numbers which are not perfect square are called irrational numbers. Okay, so I think here you also understand about the irrational numbers. Now, so the first we discuss about the natural numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 up to so on, and the second one whole numbers in which we include the 0, and the third one integers in which we also include the negative of natural numbers. Then they all three numbers, natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, they all will be categorized in the form of rational numbers. Okay, so they both include in the category of rational numbers. So whenever we are discuss about the rational number, so it may be integer, whole number or natural number. In the same way, so integer upon, also we can define the rational number as integer upon non-zero integer, that is terminating or non-terminating recurring. So whenever we discuss about the rational numbers, so it will be defined in the form of p by q, that is the integer upon non-zero integer, and this when we define its decimal form, so by the definition of decimal form we can define that the rational numbers are those numbers which are terminating or non-terminating recurring numbers. Okay, and these rational numbers include integers, whole numbers and natural numbers. But some of the numbers are called irrational numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring. So about irrational numbers, we studied that if we are going to find out the decimal form of p by q, and this decimal form is non-terminating and non-recurring, okay, or some of the numbers whose square root we are going to find out and these square root are not perfect square, then these type of number are called irrational numbers. Now when we combined both the numbers, rational numbers and irrational numbers, so combinedly they define real numbers. So here our introduction is going to finished, that is here in this lecture we understand what are the real numbers. So before starting the chapter number 1 real numbers, firstly we should know about the real numbers, that is real numbers are categorized into two type of numbers. The number one is rational numbers and the second one is irrational numbers. In the rational numbers, three type of numbers included. The one is the natural numbers, the second one is whole number, and the third one is integers. And the numbers whose decimal form are non-terminating and non-recurring, these type of numbers goes in the category of irrational numbers. Okay students, so thanks to all of you my dear students, in this lecture you can easily understand the basic introduction of real numbers. Thanks to all of you my dear students.